I would like
This meeting is being recorded.
Immediately the floor to our Vice President, Mrs. Marina Kaas of EVEA from Estonia, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all the colleagues, entrepreneurs, and friends of entrepreneurs. Well, the world has changed several times in the last 2 years. Initially, about 2 years ago, when we were all looking in the face of Corona crisis, some entrepreneurs were saying it is comparable to the Third World War. And of course, there were many damages and many effects that are still being fought against. But nobody could really even imagine that after even we got additionally the energy crisis, and after we saw that the climate crisis is really here and we need the green transition, after all these predictable things, we could not even think that we will be really facing the real war. And this is something that that we have to deal with now, and to deal with cold head and with all the cooperation and goodwill that the economic community can generate. Of course, SMEs as the main driving force of all the economies all over the world, and especially in Europe, cannot just stand aside and wait. So we actually, all of us, have to think of and do our own best, not only to fight and to stop the economic catastrophe, but also to stand all together and really stand for the very existence of the economic freedom, political freedom, and democracy. Because here in this specific crisis, all of these are at stake. And I believe that economic community have already waken up very much. We see in all the European countries extremely active, extremely intensive support to Ukraine, to Ukrainian defense forces, to Ukrainian people who are either staying and still fighting there, or people who have to flee from the country. We are all trying really to figure out what else we can do. And today I think that we shall have a very practical and very open discussion on what are the things that we are already doing, what are the best practices, what are the things that are most needed in Ukraine. And for that, I'm very happy that we have also today a speaker from Ukrainian business community, and for sure many of us in different countries have partners, have friends and colleagues in various Ukrainian organizations. So let's unite our efforts. Let's call up on every single small and medium-sized business in Europe to do their own contribution to help Ukraine, to help all of our beautiful and stable European economic and generally all over the environment that has been peaceful and constructive for so many years. Let's do our best to multiply the efforts that are already done by our governments, and we definitely can double and triple these efforts if we, the entrepreneurs, also join our forces. So welcome to everyone, and let's share these experiences and these thoughts and these plans, how we all together can stand for peace and sovereignty of our very important partner, Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marina. Yes, indeed. Who would ever have expected that we will be sitting here and talking about this situation? Although we are only an SME as a confederation on European level with many members in many European countries, we are not unable to do something. We can help, at least. We can try to support, help wherever possible, and we can coordinate ourselves, thanks also maybe to this effect of the pandemic of the corona crisis, because we are now able to do webinars which involve people from all over the continent. I'm very happy also to welcome here today Mrs. Svitlana Mikhaylovska. She's the Deputy Director General of the European Business Association Ukraine. She will give us now a little bit her impression and overview of things that she would very welcome that we can do. I would like to welcome the Vice President of the Polish Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Tomasz Zjawiony, also President of the Regional Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Katowice, our member. I would like to welcome our Treasurer of European Entrepreneurs and General Secretary General of the Austrian Business Association, Stefan Blahut, the Chairman of the Board of the European Business Association, Georgia, Mr. John Breckefeld, and also consul of the Belgian government in Georgia, Mrs. Martina Skripskauskaite of Sunrise Valley Science and Technology Park in Lithuania, and our member Imre Maroczy from Hungary, the Bartos, our member in Hungary, and also the director of the German SME Alliance, Mrs. Dr. Daniela de Ridder, former member of the German Parliament and now a colleague of our German member BVMW. As well as also among the people that listen to us, the many people that listen to us, we have here also the Secretary General of SME Connect, the European Confederation of the SME networks and support groups of the European People's Party, as well as the representative of the Polish Entrepreneurs and Employers ZPP in Brussels, Mrs. Anna Butanos. Welcome to everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. As I said before, we can help, and I really would like to share here good ideas, initiatives, and practices, and see as far as we can do something all together, and I wish us a fruitful discussion that will also allow to other participants in the audience to join us later in this discussion and to give their contributions. So first of all, I would like to give now the floor to listen to Mrs. Mikhaylovska, because that is the most interesting thing instead of listening to me. Please.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Marina, very much for your encouraging words. Dear all, good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me. First of all, let me thank all European countries that really supported these very hard times, our people that are forced to leave their homeland. It's indeed very important, so thank you indeed very much, and for all of your contributions you are doing right now. And I really hope that after today, some of you will consider possibilities, opportunities to do even more. So in terms of the general information, just for your understanding what's going on. European Business Association in Ukraine, we are already 20 years old, even more. We represent majority of international business community in our country, over 1,000 member companies. And we proceed working even during these days, even regardless the fact that all our people and all our team is spread in Europe and in Ukraine. We still conduct some different surveys among our members about the current business activities and operations. Below, I will provide you some figures and results just for understanding. 17% of our members reported that they keep working full-time. 16% had limited the geography of their activities. 19% had been forced to close some offices, outlets, branches. The other 29% of member companies are currently out of business, and 27% suspended their business but want to resume operations as soon as possible. And only 1% of our CEOs have plans to close their business in Ukraine. 63% of businesses continue to pay salaries to employees in full, and 45% make some additional payments. Only 3% were forced to cut salaries, and 1% have to provide unpaid leaves or were forced to lay off staff. To support the employees, almost 70% paid salaries a month or even more ahead. Less than 30% reimbursed relocation expenses, 23% rented accommodation in Western Ukraine, and 23% did it abroad. 1% ordered insurance for those who continue to go to work. Lots of EVEA members are engaged and their businesses are involved in so-called critical infrastructure, so they have to proceed working. We also asked what the period of financial stability of their businesses, and 22% said that it's a few months, 29% half of the year, and 9% more than a year, 8% just 1 year, and 6% do not have financial resources to proceed. As to the current needs for business community, of course, it's information, consultancy support about the employment, how and where to look for vacancies, in which areas are most likely, etc. In terms of the export of employees to the companies for employment, for example, part-time work to have additional money. Need for mental health, that's indeed very crucial, because you know it's forbidden for men to leave the country, so it's not mostly 100%, there are women with kids, so mental and psychological support services for children and workers, it's indeed very important as well. In terms of educational opportunities, courses for children in Europe, with regard to communication supports, sharing some news, arranging some hubs, or spreading the real information and real facts, what's going on in Ukraine, it's also very important, because you know that this war is not only physical war on land, it's also informational war. Support businesses in finding new clients, probably some networking opportunities for those who left or still operating in Ukraine, but still have to find new routes and new business connections to proceed working. With regard to transportation and crossing the border, just recently, together with the Ukrainian railway, Ukrzaliznytsia, we as EVEA and our business community arranged so-called safety route for humanitarian aid from Poland. So this B2B between logistics companies and governmental institutions, also very important. Sharing, for example, with international partners, humanitarian needs for Ukraine. And if I may, I would like to share my screen for you, just to understand those needs. Let me do it. Just check. I can share.
The green button below.
Yes, yes.
Does it work? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in terms of the humanitarian need and assistance that may be provided to Ukraine, one of EVEA member companies, the CEO of Brown-Forman, is now official advisor on humanitarian policy of the Ukrainian Ministry of Agrarian Policy and Food. So we are in close collaboration with the government, and we structured all those particular needs for different Ukrainian regions. You may see, I will not read, I guess you may see the figures and the needs and the current state of play. Just for your information, that we have been already faced the situations when companies from Europe, just private entities, individuals who really want to support Ukraine, they faced some frauds with potential partners in Ukraine. They faced frauds in terms of the routes, the logistics chain, etc., etc. What I'm encouraging you right now, since we do it together in collaboration directly with the governmental institutions, I mean, we as the European Business Association, the organizers have my contacts. And we really right now doing this in very constructive and very secured way. We find partners, logistics hubs, both in Ukraine, and we may collaborate directly. So this is the list of direct needs for different regions, because now we really face humanitarian problems in different, you've heard, all of you have heard the news from Mariupol. Now we face particular difficulties with food supply to Kiev region. My family is still near Kiev. So if you really want and you are ready to provide some humanitarian aid, let's do it together in a safe way. I believe it will be more constructive to do it this particular in this particular solution would be probably acceptable for you and for your members. As to other opportunities for additional support and assistance, you know that, and I may also share the details, the National Bank of Ukraine also arranged special accounts for those who is willing to support both Ukrainian army, but as far as I know, majority of NGOs and some international companies, due to their internal compliance policies, they can't support military actions directly, and therefore there is a humanitarian account also arranged by the National Bank of Ukraine. Another good example, what we face now in Warsaw, and thanks to our Polish friends for their support, it's can't be overestimated actually. In Warsaw, they've also arranged so-called co-working hub for businesses and for companies who proceeds working in their operations abroad. And this is really, really helpful. Some of my colleagues who are now located in Poland, they are also ready to use this opportunity, because we as association that proceeds working and supporting our members in terms of their collaboration with the government and with our international partners, we are trying to be available 24/7. So there are lots of opportunities to support us as well as association that supports right now and in direct contact with the companies in Ukraine, but also different opportunities. So I hope Stefan and colleagues would share my contacts, and I will be happy to support and somehow facilitate if you will be ready and willing to provide additional assistance. It's just the brief information. You know that we are now integrated also in the energy community of Europe. It's also a significant step and significant signal for Ukraine. We also addressed, our president addressed the European Union in terms of the accelerated joining this community in Europe. Of course, we understand that it is very difficult, especially in current situation for the country being in war, but still it's a significant signal, and any opportunity you would have in terms of sharing the information, the real information about Ukraine, providing any assistance in terms of the B2B and opportunity and support for refugees from Ukraine, it will be so much helpful. Thank you, and I will be ready to answer all your questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Svitlana. That is definitely very important what you told us. I think all my colleagues have here some answers that we would like to hear now. But I would give, first of all, back again the floor to Marina. Maybe we start with Estonia, which has been also former Soviet Republic. Unfortunately, luckily it's not anymore. But they feel very near to you, and I think they have many initiatives in the place also. Please, Marina.
Thank you. Well, I would like to highlight the main efforts that our association of Estonian SMEs has been doing. Of course, this is just a very small part of what Estonia as a country is doing now to help Ukraine, and it's even difficult to get the whole picture, because there are really lots of organizations dealing with both humanitarian aid and dealing with support to Ukrainian refugees here, and calling to support some special organizations. What we have done was, I believe it was on the second day of the war, we called upon all Estonian entrepreneurs to make contributions to the organizations that are directly assisting Ukraine. And we have especially emphasized the support provided to the Ukrainian Army Fund. Why we did this? Well, because many of our members actually said that, well, of course it is very important to provide humanitarian aid, but humanitarian problems are the consequences, and we need to fight the cause. We need to help Ukraine win in the battle, and that's why it is very important to provide as much as possible additional resources to the defense forces of Ukraine, to buy more equipment, ammunition, supplies, also really food for the army. And it was very well taken by our members, and many actually gave feedback that we have done contributions. And of course, we also called for providing donations to the main humanitarian aid organizations that are active in Estonia. We have at the moment 4 of these, and alongside with the Red Cross, of course, there are 3 organizations that are dealing, one with working with refugees, one with cultural, so-called the Cultural Fund of Ukraine and Estonia, and that there is a 3rd one. Well, I'm not quite sure I remember the name now, but anyway, they are collecting both money and donations in certain articles that are needed. And now all of them say that basically don't bring things, make donations, because then we can exactly buy the things that are needed, or transfer the money, and the Ukrainian counterparts will do exactly what they need. And I must say that I think this is reasonable for entrepreneurs also. Of course, if some companies do have things that are exactly needed, Like in Estonia, we have, for example, some companies that are making drones, or companies that are producing special food packs that are usable for the military. They, of course, can send their products directly, but mostly I think that it is the monetary contributions. Now, what we saw as a thing, a sort of an issue that we need to address, is that in Estonia, donations are only tax-free to a very small amount of the company's turnover or of a company's salary expenses. Even not the turnover, but the profit, which means that if the company is not profitable or does not have salaried employees, then all of its donations are taxed. And unfortunately, after COVID crisis, very many companies are not in profit, and lots of small companies have downsized, especially in the sectors that are particularly hit by Corona crisis, where owners are working for free and they don't have any employees, so they don't have any salaried costs. So we sent the appeal to the parliament and the government to completely free from any taxes donations that are made to organizations helping Ukraine. Also organizations that are acting on Ukrainian territory. Well, I must say that to my regret, this proposal was not supported to the degree that we wanted. It was only supported in the part of organizations registered in Estonia, but not organizations acting directly in Ukraine. But anyway, I think it does not substantially decrease the motivation of Estonian people to support also directly Ukrainian organizations. But it is, of course, a pity, and I must say to the criticism of our government that it is not completely moral to tax donations to the country at war. It is not the place where the government should earn profits, and that was exactly the message that we gave them. But we shall see. It is not completely decided yet. The second very important, or actually the third very important direction in which we called upon all Estonian people, including entrepreneurs, to act is exactly what Svitlana highlighted. There is an information war, which is basically as severe as the real hot war. I personally, my roots are in Moscow. I'm born in Russia, in Moscow, and I spent half of my life there. So I have lots of friends, and sometimes I watch what is being still available on the Russian channels, and I must say I haven't seen most horrible lie and complete how would I say a mirror. You know, there are mirrors that show people completely different usually in amusement parks, like you come and you see yourself very fat or very somehow very strange. So this is what the Russian official media is, and what they mostly do is that everything they do themselves, they blame Ukrainians for. And unfortunately, as Russian people don't see anymore anything else but YouTube and maybe something from their apps, many people are completely disoriented. And what we need to do is to contact all the friends and colleagues and partners that we know in Russia and try in some soft way, because if we directly try to tell them, well, never believe anything that you are being told on your TV, then maybe some people will consider it as a little bit of aggressive and patronizing way. But we need to maybe ask them just to do us a favor and send them the links to still available independent sources in internet, and some links to the telephone apps that are still available in Russia, and maybe some details on how the VPN can be installed in the telephones. because people of older generation, not as old who completely don't use internet, but I would say people of 50 plus, they are not very proficient in information technologies. They might not know about many ways that are in addition to direct internet sites, which are mostly all blocked. All the reasonable independent sites of the channels that were telling the truth about Ukrainian war are blocked in Russia now. So this is, I think, also a very important contribution that all of us can do. Find our partners and friends and acquaintances and try to guide them to the real information about what is happening. Because when the Russian people see this, they will not be so indifferent and they will not be so quiet. And maybe there will be more people on the streets that there are policemen and OMON people. So it will not be possible to arrest and take away everyone. But this is really a very important aspect. And of course, we need to try to also lobby for our governments to take all the possible barriers in the trade and immigration legislation, so that we can still maybe do some trade transactions with Ukraine in the groups of goods and in the ways that are useful for Ukraine, first of all, now, not for us, but for Ukraine. And also to make all possible allowances in the employment legislation, so that people that those women that are that came out of the country and that are seeking shelter in our countries, that those of them who want to work can go to work. And they can do it immediately and will be relieved of all the normal bureaucracy that usually is related to working. And of course, we all in Estonia, we have the very strong public opinion that actually NATO should find a way to interfere, because probably what we are trying to avoid now, to avoid the escalation and maybe probably a nuclear strikes, then maybe it is not avoidable in the end of the day, but probably it is better to avoid it now rather than deal with it when the whole thing goes out of hand and out of the borders. But generally, I would say that most entrepreneurs are believing strongly that the good will win the bad, that all the world is now with Ukraine, that there is huge support. The sanctions that were imposed and the isolation that we all had to impose on Russia will play a very important role for sure. And we are all actually seeing already big, huge changes. But we are, of course, in all our hearts, we are very much suffering for what the Ukrainian people need to go through. We are all with our Ukrainian friends, and of course there is no way to make things not happening, and especially all the losses, all the deaths of the innocent people. So let's do our best to help Ukraine as much as we can on all levels and stop this terrible thing as soon as possible. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Marina, for all these words and very important proposals. Maybe as a short brackets here, background information. Yesterday, the European Union decided to put also sanctions on imports from steel and aluminium products from Russia. And the same day, our confederation, I received a letter from the CEO of Rusal, the second biggest world's producer of aluminium, asking us to understand that they are important for our industry. So practically they asked me to lobby for them. I think they are quite desperate, and that makes me hopeful that things hopefully change as soon as possible. But I would like to give now directly the floor to those that Svitlana has very correctly mentioned as the country that is supporting very much Ukrainian people in this moment, that is Poland. And it's a great pleasure here to have the Vice President of the Polish Chamber of Commerce and the President of the Katowice Chamber of Commerce, our member, Tomasz Savioni. Thanks for being here. Please take the word. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Stefan. Hello, everyone. Hello, Svitlana, because it's really, we can say everyone, we are here for you. So I hope that the results of our conversation will be positive, not only with words, but also with activities. Only one word, we get also this letter from Rusal, and it's exactly a sample of Russian propaganda, because that is really strange that we get from so big player letter to Katowice to support. It's crazy. But anyway, before I will start to say much more about how we can help, what we are doing already, I want to say a few words of introduction. So for the first, thank you very much for this opportunity to participate in the meeting, in which, in fact, we can present different points of view about Russia's bandit attack on the independent state of Ukraine, because that is real, and that is what is happening now. For the first, I'm forced to start with bitter words. But I hope that this meeting, like several others in which I participate every day, will bring positive conclusions and above all, a relief for Ukrainian friends. Unfortunately, as you can see from the reactions of individual governments, these really are different points of view, and they differ not only in commitment and dedication, but also in understanding what is happening in our eastern neighbors. Sometimes I have the impression that some governments only see the image that are financed by criminal Russian propaganda instead of bombs. So that is, for me, it's really difficult to understand, and that there must be words of truth, words that illustrate the behavior of states, perhaps not states, but individual governments of the states that represent our organizations, in fact. For me personally, sorry for that words, but I cannot understand the position of Hungarian governments on the closure of Hungarian-Ukrainian border for humanitarian aid. That is also difficult for me because I'm a vice president of Polish-Hungarian Chamber of Commerce. I cannot also understand Dutch government, but the lack, because of the lack of any willingness to accept war refugees, women and children. It's, for me, it's unacceptable, but it's also unacceptable, the politics that what we are looking from different countries, which we can call in few words like money rule. I know that economy is very important, but now we are looking for the losing human lives. And what we should mention, that we should all remember that every war ends, and at some point, and the not only history, but also our societies will now evaluate the attitudes represented human reflex, which unfortunately are missing in many places. So, ladies and gentlemen, as far as the human point of view in concerned, and now I would like to refer the consequences for our economies. It must be borne in mind that nearly 80% of enterprises in Ukraine, we get this statistic from yesterday meeting with Mr. Gennady Chizhikov, he is Vice President of Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. That is the number which he gave us, that 80% of Ukrainian companies have suspended their activities. So solving problems that affect citizens, entrepreneurs, business organizations, that mean the entire Ukrainian economy. Now we are not able to predict how economically this bandit attack on Ukraine will end, because we do not know when it will end, but we know that it has devastating impact on the economy. So today our meeting we have met because also in the economies we represent, this bandit attack has its mark on it. So apart from the huge dependence of our economies, what we can see daily on raw materials from Russia, which is for example, also blackmailing European governments, but by the bandit Putin, we are exposed to other direct but also indirect threats. Starting from financing, 20% of Russian public debt, that's our money from Western Europe. But that is not only problem for sure for big banks and funds, but it's ending with problems with the settlements of already completed transactions and those that are in progress, for example, because partial settlements will be prohibited. And in some places, counterparties will not have found for payment. So if orders have not been complete yet, despite the cost of production products, you need to ask yourself whether we can afford the lack of payment, and you need to think about what to do, in fact. Reducing import and export, embargoes, but also the lack of willingness to cooperate with these markets. So, I mean, Belarus, Russia, we can see the brands which are resigned from cooperation on those markets. So those decisions, there are limitation of individual companies or industries, so that they do not want to trade with these markets. It means the radically or complete reduction of turnover with this market. Listen, guys, over 2 million for today, or over 2 million people from Ukrainian refugees appeared on the territory of Poland. That is 4 weeks' time. A very large number of individual stories, individual tragedies, which were caused because Russian bombs falling on the innocent civilians, in fact, including women and children. So therefore, as a Polish nation, we try to create the best possible conditions for each of these people by inviting them to our homes, financing their daily needs and helping their children develop in our schools, for example. Only in the classes of my 2 sons, there are already, I'm living in small cities close to Katowice, and there is already 12 children who require understanding and individual care. But most of all, to support peers was words they do not always understand, but they can see and understand their behavior. So that is why we prepare our children to support the Ukrainian colleagues, because that is more important than all the knowledge that they get. So how do we help? There are a lot of activities, so there is not finished list, we can say, and we do everything to help because we understand that this is our European duty, and I hope that after this discussion, everybody will get this impression also. So, but we can divide it for 3 different actions. For the first, the government and state administration, because that is important. So that is the most important here, was prepared to an entire solutions to simplify. That is the first, simplify the procedures. For example, for residence, for registration, but also for employment of Ukrainian citizens in Poland. We create the law. Yesterday was voting by our government, and starting from yesterday, Ukrainian people can work in Polish with any limited for next 18 months. So it's 1.5 years. Without any special permission, we are treat them exactly like Polish workers. So that is the most important, because those people which are living here now, they get the apartment, they get the place to live, but they need to have money for living. Also, our government also gave some money for the beginning, but if we are talking about weeks, months, we need to prepare the work for those people, because they need to have money for food, for example. And the second, that's our entrepreneurs. So the organization like we are, and those guys which are working with us daily. So entrepreneurs create, for example, we create common database, a place where Ukrainian people, citizens and Ukrainian people can find employment. That is the first. For example, they organize, of course, homes also for the families of employees, because that is popular knowledge. We can say that on the Polish market already before the problem became, there was already almost around 1 million workers from Ukraine which support our economy. So the first point for the entrepreneurs was to try to help the families of our workers, which are already here, to bring them to Poland and to organize for them, we can say, new life. Also, what we are trying to do now, for example, with Gennady Chichikov or with our friends from Lviv, for example, Chernihiv, we are trying to support them to move the business to Poland. Of course, it's not so easy because in this moment, the war, it's not the moment that you are thinking about your business, but in fact that is a duty of economic organization like we are, because what we are doing, that is before also webinars, organic training for some courses for the Ukrainian people, also for Polish entrepreneurs, how to react with Ukrainian people, because sometimes you need to understand first and then make the decisions. But also what I have mentioned, we trying to create the space for the Ukrainian company, for example, by creating the joint venture companies, and we try to keep entrepreneurs on the market. So because if war will end, and I hope that it will be as soon as possible, we need to create the Ukrainian market moment of the start. So what we want to do, that Ukrainian economy doesn't want to start from the zero, but start with some level of already existing contracts, existing clients. So that is also what we are trying to do, and what we propose to our friends. Also, of course, we can say some responsibilities also to support people which cannot work, for example, because of the age. So that is also the role of Polish government, and I think that in this moment we can say that we are doing what is possible to support people and not close them in one place, for example, but we are absolutely giving them our homes, our relation, and we try to create the atmosphere that they, for sure, that they are not feeling here like in home, but they need to feel here in Poland like in the place which is friendly for them, and this trying to help is in fact not only from the brain but mostly from the heart. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks to you, Thomas. That was a very important contribution. Of course, Poland, we see that Poland is doing very much, and I think that is really appreciable. Of course, you are the nearest country, or let's say the country with the biggest, the longest border to Ukraine, and also historical ties help you, and that is needed in certain moments. That's also the reason why we gathered here, especially our member organizations that are near to the Ukrainian borders and that are somehow near to that conflict also. And one of them, of these countries, is also Georgia. And that's why I'm happy that we have here the chairman of the board of the European Business Association Georgia and consul of Belgium to Georgia, Mr. John Breckefeld, as well as the CEO of EVEA Georgia, Mr. David Lee. But please, Mr. Breckefeld, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this, Stefan. Thank you for inviting me in this panel together with these speakers. So first of all, on behalf of the EVEA, its board and its members, of course, I have to first condemn Russia's military aggression in Ukraine and express our full solidarity for Ukraine. The whole Europe stands with Ukraine today. No one understands the situation better than Georgia, what is happening now. We had exactly the same situation in 2008. I distinctly remember, I heard also bombs close by dropping. I also had Russian tanks standing at the entrance of the city. I would like to highlight a point which is very important for not only Ukraine, but for Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova. This is the application process for the EU membership. This is something very important. These are the three Eastern Partnership countries. They call the associated trio. They have already for some time a visa-free regime with the European Union and a deep and comprehensive free trade agreement, which is actually quite good working. I would like to reiterate to everybody that this acceptance of this associated trio to the EU would not only benefit these three countries, but would benefit the entire EU. For the simple reason, these are countries, like I heard also from Estonia, from Marina, these are post-Soviet countries, but they share European values. They have European standards also that we are working for. And I think this will help. I noted from Tomasz also a very important fact, and it's amazing what Poland is doing. But you see that this war is already causing for more than 3 million people crossing the border there. And I think it is very important as business, as SME, as the business community, that we have to be very carefully. These are now displaced persons. We need to support the Ukraine business associations very much, that we have to make sure that these doesn't become economic refugees, that they have the place also to get back to Ukraine and that we can support the business there as much as possible. I wanted to just share very shortly, because it has also to do with this meeting, what the EVEA Georgia, we exist now 5 years, and our vision fits perfectly in the whole story here. Our vision was very simple. Doing business in Georgia is the same as doing business in Europe. This goes for all these countries, for the Ukraine, for Moldova. We are the same people, and actually I'm biased because I have a Belgian nationality. I'm an original Belgian with a Georgian nationality also. I would say we as the EVEA Georgia, we have already some companies supporting Ukraine. I have to mention here Crystal, ProCredit Bank, GPI Holding, which are already supporting us. I just heard from Svitlana, very important, that the need for co-working spaces. This is something we have members also at EVEA Georgia that can offer that. So I suggest, actually, it's very important in this meeting also, we exchange communication between the members and the other members. I can send a list also from our members. And Svitlana, like you are mentioning there, but we want to hear more. Whatever we can do as an EVEA Georgia, we want to fully support EVEA Ukraine also. At the end of the day, and this is my last words, at the end of the day, we are faced with a war. But as we can see, the stronger is the economy behind it. And the economy is done by businesses, by the SME business in the country. So we are quite powerful. The more we can support each other, the more powerful we stay, and the more we can hopefully find solutions to the situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, for this intervention, and of course also for this point, reminding this point that Svitlana already told before regarding the co-working spaces. Together with my colleague, we decided in this moment also to do this pledge, and we have a room here free for 5 people that could work here in Brussels to continue their work. They can use our printers and internet and coffee and whatever, and that is nothing, of course. We are a small enterprise, if you want. We are an association, but that's what we can do. So we will try to do at least that, and we hope that many others can follow. Next in the course, I would like to hear also the many initiatives and proposals that are coming also from Lithuania, another country very near to the situation. Marina Skripskauskaite from Sunrise Valley Science and Technology Park. Please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. It is very nice to hear that countries are sharing so many initiatives that they are implementing in their own countries. And as many have already mentioned, we are also involved, and we are seeing so many initiatives in Lithuania, and it was a very huge response from the very first day of the war, actually. and Lithuanians have taken it very deeply, and they understand that if not being in EU or NATO, probably it would have been very easy for Russia to do the same in the Baltic states. So it's it was very kind of deep senses when we eventually hear that Russia decided to invade Ukraine at the end of February. So so actually from top of the government, I guess, to the simple business, people are united, and they are initiating very different initiatives. And I have actually prepared a brief overview of what I have found right now, but I suppose there are many more that are not in this list. So let me.
You're allowed to share, please, if you want.
Let me. You should be seeing already, right?
We do.
Okay, so of course I will start with our national, maybe a national scale response. So first of all, of course, politicians were very much supporting Ukraine, and military and humanitarian and monetary and medical aid was proposed in various forms. Politics decided on sanctions, so also together, some were together with EU, others internally in Lithuania. And also it was very important to do the counter disinformation actions, which is limiting some access to pro-Russian funded media sites, which have been spreading very many different and not actual information to even local Lithuanian people. And as I have had been reading some articles, it's not only in Lithuania or post-Soviet countries. There are also so many disinformation channels created across the European Union and also in America. So it's just, it is very important to notice such things, and as a civil people to react to it and to report if it's possible, especially if it's social media, it has possibility to report such things. Also in Lithuania, we have created refugee centers. Of course, it's not such amount of people coming to Lithuania as it is in Poland, but I think these centers are in connection with Poland, and accepting people upon the, I don't know, agreements between the countries. Also, the Red Cross initiative was started at the very beginning of the war, and it was basically uniting all the Lithuanians. There was an ask from the people to bring warm clothing, blankets, some pillows to the people that are currently suffering in Ukraine. So actually it was a very huge response, and from the maybe planned one truck from Lithuania, there were up to 15 trucks in one day that was collected. And also there is another initiative, Strong Together. So it's basically collecting all the information from the Lithuanians who are willing to accept refugees in their own houses, flats, if they have spare rooms to share. They are just entering the information in there, leaving the contacts, and then waiting for the people to come. So even multiple of my colleagues are already sharing with Ukrainian families their own apartments, houses. So it's very important, I guess, for those who are right now leaving Ukraine. So it's an example picture of how many humanitarian aid people random people in Lithuania have collected in only in one place, and it was actually multiple places and similar amounts of things. Also, we have an organization, Blue Yellow, and it is functioning actually since 2014, when Russia have actually started war in Ukraine first time. And this organization is specifically oriented towards the military aid, because people from these organizations have been going constantly going to Ukraine, to the war zone, which was since 2014, and they have exact lists of what is needed to specific people fighting in the field right now. And also there are many volunteering possibilities. People are signing up for the refugee centers coordinations, or working with kids, working with people who need to find a job, or collecting food, or some organizations even are for saving pets from the war zone. So it's a very different topics that can be supported. For example, this organization Blue Yellow collected a few million euros aid, and found the SUV cars, then found the companies that can paint it in this dark brownish color, and these cars were sent straight to the war zone, so that military personnel can use it for their own trafficking within Ukraine. Our organization, Sunrise Valley Science and Technology Park, also have taken part in multiple actions. We have donated money, also, as mentioned, accommodated some refugee families. As a business support, we provide dedicated workplaces in a co-working space we have in Vilnius. So if you know someone that will be coming to Lithuania from Ukraine, you can spread this information that in Vilnius there are some spaces available for Ukrainian business. Also, we provide virtual office services, and also a business consultation if needed. As a couple of our partners in Sunrise Valley campus had different initiatives. One of them on their own collected the humanitarian aid and sent the purchased bus straight to Ukraine. Another one initiative is bringing all the people with their own ideas, with the solutions that can help actually to solve some of the problems Ukrainian business right now is facing. So you can save these links that are in the slides if you will want to check this out and maybe join the initiative. Other inspiring initiatives from Lithuania is also MITA organization. It's a governmental organization, and it is organizing a hackathon this weekend. I suppose it will bring a lot of tech companies, IT people. It is starting today. Not sure if the admission is already closed or not, but also I provided a link for you to check out. I suppose in one way or another there will be an access to discussions. So if you have people that would be interested to join such initiative, you can spread the word. Also, it was one business manager in Lithuania just thought that he has one minibus on his own and he needs to do something. So he called his friend, and his friend called his friends, and as it happens, most of them were like business relations, business related people. They managed to collect like 12 minibuses at the end of this day, and they have managed to connect with companies that have donated all the humanitarian aid that was needed in Ukraine. It's clothing and some military equipment from the military stores, some flashlight lighters that might be needed when the electricity is not available, and many things like that. So only one person can inspire others. If you have something to start from, you just can call someone else who might be also with similar passion, and it just makes miracles happen. So these are some of the cars he was using to go to Ukraine. So my suggestion is for everyone in Europe, how can we help Ukrainian business, is to create workplaces to make opportunities for them. In Lithuania, we have a special listing, online listing that is dedicated for Ukrainians, and they can find the workplace to work. Also, it was raised that it's mainly women with children. So children need to go somewhere to education institutions. So if it's possible to make that, they could be going to schools or have activities during the day, and moms can work at that place. And also I've heard also on the news that most of those women are saying that eventually they will be coming back to Ukraine, and they believe it's temporary, but it is very, very important that they can do this right now to earn some money. Maybe some of this money will be sent back to their husbands in Ukraine, but they are very thankful for those who are arranging this possibility. So, and also it's an opportunity for you to be inspiring for the others in the business community. And one example is how to show your political position. For example, is just make a decision. Your organization is going for the renewable energy, for example, and this way you're not going to use a gas or something. So it's also a smaller strain on the country to have less import from Russians of the gas. I think many countries will have this issue in the coming month, but that's one way to start from.
Thank you very much, Martina. So many concrete proposals, especially the question of the logistics is a concern, which maybe also a hackathon could help to solve. Unfortunately, now many people must start to ask me that they would like to go away. So I would give immediately the word to Dr. Daniela de Ridder of the German BMW and director of the SME Alliance managed by BMW. Thanks, Mrs. de Ridder, before you go away, that you can.
Yes, thank you, Stefan, so much for organizing this meeting. It's very important that we have exchange and see how we can try to find solution to this silly situation that we are living, that everybody and most of the people in Ukraine are living as a big nightmare. So yes, let me underline that also we in Germany are very solidary with the Ukrainian people. And I myself was yesterday at the central station in Berlin, where I saw arriving a lot of refugees. Most of those people were women with their children and crying and to feel more safe and hoping to get to be hosted there. So what can we try as to do as an association of smaller and middle-sized enterprises? So the first thing that we try to do is to encourage our enterprises to help, to spend, and to spend most of all financial donations. I think this is one of the most important thing that we can support as an organization nowadays, but also all the aid and help Martina, for instance, mentioned already. It's so important that we get this. But one of the, and I wonder if we should try to write a letter altogether to our governments is that we try to intervene on the political level. As Stefan already mentioned, I have served as a special representative for Eastern Europe until the month of October last year for Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia as well. And I suppose that we have to try to make much more clearer than in the past to our government that the membership of inside of the EU for these three countries is so important to feel more safe. But I don't know, what do you think about this, that we could try to intervene on the level, much more on the political level as we did in the past, and to do this together? I think this could be one of more aspects than we already mentioned. And be sure, I know all the criticism concerning the German government, that we were in the past so reluctant, but be sure there is a lot of solidarity in the German population as well. And the most important topics that we are treating nowadays is how we can support and help concerning relocation. But we are looking forward to the labor market as well, because we don't know how far this silly war, and be sure that we are very aware how much and how many war crimes are taking place. So, but I think it's very important that we work on education and language skills as well. And that we can help not only the mothers to support their lives and the new situation that they are living, but also the children coming. And the last one I should mention is not only employment, but also the financial system and the financial services. This was already mentioned, but I think it's a very important topic to maintain the connection and to maintain the safety of the enterprises in the Ukraine as well. Thank you so much for listening, and it's very important that we stand together in these hard times. And be sure of our solidarity as well, and you will have it in, and I hope that we meet again, everybody safe and healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Derrida. Immediately also the word to Secretary General of EVBB, the European Association of Training Institutions, Theodor Grassos, please.
Thank you very much. I would like to start from where Daniela has finished. Indeed, the necessary interventions on the one hand are to relieve the situation as it is. And on the other hand, we have also to think that it may come to the occasion that some of these refugees are going to stay longer. And we have to show our support through training. In order to do that, the European Commission has launched a survey in order to collect current practices that are actually implemented in member states. I'm going to show you the link immediately here and share it. So what is actually needed here, please take a little bit longer time in order to fill in this questionnaire. They are looking for good practices, which means that if your organizations or if you are aware of a methodology that is actually being implemented in one of the countries in terms of upskilling, reskilling of third country nationals, then now is the time to mention it, because the Commission is going to collect those practices and transfer them to new funding tools that are going to be used in order to integrate, if needed, Ukrainian refugees in the member states that they are selecting to stay. So I think that this is a good opportunity to participate also in policy making. Everything is being written from scratch. So I think that now, especially countries that do have previous experience in integrating migrants, Germany, the South European countries that have been very harsh hit by the previous refugee flows, I think they should provide some good practices for validating skills of people who have left everything behind and don't have papers to prove that they are good mechanics, that they are good in languages and so on and so on. So I would rather ask everyone, if possible, also to share this link. It has been sent to us because we are working with DG Employ and DG Act in this kind of issues. So this was the reason I asked Stefan to kindly let us say these few words, and I would like to thank you very much for that, Stefan, and give you back the word. Thank you very much.
No, thanks to you, Theodor. And now I would say the turn is the one of Imre Maroci from Hungary. Also, Hungary is near to the situation. What can you tell us? Please switch on your microphone, Imre. Yeah.
Thank you, Stefan. Welcome, everybody. I will be short, not as I used to be. Thomas mentioned something about Hungary. I didn't get it exactly, but I will react to it and to the issue. Here in Hungary, the local settlements, local governments, the NGOs, regional organizations, and private people are helping those who are coming to Hungary, mainly them. The government coordination is missing until now, and they claim it. Now, Orbán Viktor, the prime, went for 3 days to the front, to the border region. I hope with this experience, speed up the help. What is the help is going on? The Ukrainians who come to Hungary, logistics, they can ride the trains, the autobus, all this city transport free. Just they step in and they don't pay anything. The health care for 30 days, it's free. Just go to the doctors. And this, the accommodation is mainly, it's not coordinated either. Everybody gives what it can. Private people, some hotels, private hotels opened up rooms, and just people go to the stations and go take a mother with 2 children and take it home, but not coordinated by the government. Now we have today about 500,000 of refugees or comers, mainly women and children, most of them, as men cannot come in. The coordination, translators are missing very much from the meeting points because they arrive to the station, let's say to the main train station, and there is nobody's coordinated way waiting for them, but there are the volunteers, the NGOs, but there is no translator, for example, and then it's more difficult to understand where he should go, what he wants, what she wants. And also with this visit of Orbán Viktor in the borderline, I hope he will put in much more money to all this issue, because there is never enough money for things like this. And of course, we are with Ukraine people and Ukraine entrepreneurs. So one more, the media, what I see, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, the media, what I see that the media war between Ukraine and Russia is very much won by Ukraine until now. Russia is losing the media war, and Ukraine is very much winning it.
I think that is also our perception from the West, let's say, or from our media. Unfortunately, in Russia, it's not clear. It's definitely not so. We don't even are sure if this fake protest or if this protest in the Russian television was fake or was true. with this. But let's say, indeed, the impression is quite clear that he is one president that is leading a country in a traumatic, tragic situation like Mr. Zelensky does, and another one is not leading, is simply hiding more and more behind his power. And that is maybe also a sign of their desperate, to be desperate.
Just one.
Yeah, sorry.
Thomas, what did you say? I didn't get it exactly. When you mentioned...
Don't worry. I mean, yeah, is that now really a moment that we have to discuss about that? I mean, you can maybe have a chat directly. I mean, of course, there are different points of views, and we are not here to discuss the positions of our governments, which are not always really making us happy. But what we are here to do is to try to solve, to share ideas and to see how we can also put together the initiatives. I mean, Poland, for example, and Hungary, they can, of course, help also with transports towards Ukraine. We must bring goods and aid and technical material into the country. The ideas that Martina has shared already regarding the minibuses and the SUVs that could also require technological support, apps, and so on and so forth. There are many ideas, and I think that is good that you also share here links in the chat, which my colleague from Austria, Stefan Blau, just reminded me to save, because there's very important we will share later on our website all these links in order that you can participate and use them as much as possible. And please do so now. From everything what you have, we will share that and put that together. Stefan Blau, please, also you have launched an initiative yesterday. We can't hear you, unfortunately, Stefan, although your microphone seems to be open. Maybe you know? I can't, no, unfortunately. I see that maybe you have to go out and come in again. Maybe that works sometimes. Now it works. Now it
works. Okay, yeah. Sorry. It's 3 years with Zoom. Still don't know how it works. Anyway, so hello everyone. I don't want to emphasize too much about the whole situation. It's a nightmare we're living through, and obviously Svitlana and Ukrainians are living it much more through than we do, two countries aside. To pick up Thomas's words, also the Austrian government is not quite clear about the situation, as we have some. Actually, the chancellor traveled to Serbia yesterday. And shoulder begging with the Serbian prime minister and telling him he will be the right candidate, Serbia is the right candidate for the EU, knowing the situation, knowing the position of the Serbian government. So it's quite strange. However, we in Austria, we do have, and it's the same for our situation, we have both sides within everywhere. We have many people doing business or having done business with Russia, many politics, well, some of them even kneeling in front of the Russian dictator. So we need to have a lot of work understanding the situation and siding to the right side. The population is siding on the right side. So I think it's a 99.99% standing with Ukraine and hoping that this nightmare comes to an end. We have the first refugees. We don't have as many as the neighboring country, of course, but there are some 10,000 arriving in Vienna every day, broadly helped by private initiative. The government takes its time, like last time. We as association, we hear a lot of members who tell us that they are opening their hotel rooms, for instance, or private houses for refugees to give them a first room. We also hear most of them are just traveling through Austria somewhere else, so we don't know what the real situation is. What we did to come to the point of the initiative, we ask our members if they have jobs for refugees, even on short terms, even for apprentices, to keep them learning to keep them learning. So we have a slow but starting response on that. There is a broad initiative of the Federal Job Association, IMS, called Jobs for Ukraine, AT, what addresses the Ukrainians here in Austria to find their jobs. This is pretty well. And we, as an association, we will pick up, we have the room, although it's not free for other reasons, we would have the room to start a little co-working space for Ukrainians here in Austria to keep up their business. And this is, I think, the most important thing. As Mateusz said it, Tomasz said it first, we need to have, or to commonly join our efforts to keep Ukrainian businesses running. I think this is really important, because even if they leave the country now and they do the business abroad, they will go back hopefully very soon. So whatever idea we can do there, funding, whatever, we should join the ideas in this case. And Svitlana will be somehow the connector in this. Probably to join it. And this is the other thing. If our association can make connections nationally and among us, so any need, if we hear of someone in another country, we can address it to you, or you can address it to me. So we should really very help on a low scale. So really take the hand and help. And if we can do that, maybe we have some idea to have a connection around this, to help the people to come to the point quickly.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Please share the link to your
I will.
survey in the chat.
Actually, yes, we have. It's more looking like a survey, so it's not. It's really handmade quickly overnight. But this is what we distribute to our association members. And I share also the other link of the official job platform of the federal agency.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to welcome also here among our discussants Mrs. Agata Butanos. She represents the Polish entrepreneurs and employers here in Brussels. I'm happy that you are here, but before you take the word, I would like to share with you also an initiative of our Slovenian member organization, Slovenian Business Club, which have launched a call for fundraising and to humanitarian aid, especially for Ukrainian children, among the members of the Slovenian Business Club, which is a club of quite successful, fast-growing, middle-sized enterprises. And they have in a few days already collected 60,000 euro of support of funds that they would like to transform into goods and aid that can be brought into the country. And Svitlana, I hope you didn't mind, but I gave them directly your contact, and I hope you will find a solution together with them to do some good in this moment. And on the other hand side, a colleague here, unfortunately, Mrs. Lukachova went already away. A colleague here from the chat also shared this initiative that comes from Germany, Händler helfen Händlern. That means retailers help retailers. That was born during the coronavirus crisis, and they have launched this platform to find a job for people from Ukraine in Europe, and there is already a long list of possible jobs here from all kind of qualities that are already listed. Just this practical aid proposals, and maybe also you, Agata, you have some proposals to make, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm sorry to joining your discussion last minute. I represent Union of Entrepreneurs and Employers from Poland. I work in our Brussels office. And why I wanted to take your time today is because we wanted to share of what we are doing as an organization to help Ukrainians. Just not to discuss or maybe give an overview of what our government does, but we as a union So we started actually with collecting of money by our ZPP, our union's foundation. And so far we donated funds for direct support for the Ukrainian government of approximately 40,000 euro. But we did not stop then. At the same time, we are obtaining and purchasing the medical materials and hygienic products and other products that are being indicated by our Ukrainian partners, Ukrainian side, that could be helpful. So far, we have gathered and sent by ourselves to Ukraine two convoys. What is also important that maybe will give an idea to colleagues in other countries or other organizations that we have launched a website with employers' job offers for people coming from Ukraine that would like to take on a job in Poland. I will send you the link in the chat box. As it was said before by the panelists, we actively participate and support legislative work in Poland, so that at the legislative level, in particular in the area of job opportunities, education, and access to the healthcare, there is much more of a response and the services available for people coming from Ukraine. So that the goals of help and all the participants are being met. And so far we know that the regulatory package that we were one of the organizations to propose was announced by the government this week to be introduced. And together with our member companies, we have set up in front of the Central Railway Station, which is the central station, train station in Warsaw, a tent. And there we are distributing meals for incoming people from Ukraine together with our partners. And the needs are still enormous. Of course, together with our other employees, so we joined the process of finding and obtaining accommodations to all the people that we can help in our private houses. Just one sentence of what we see as next steps for the union. We want to start supporting, and we are open for your suggestions and comments, an activity that will be supporting the temporary relocation of companies from Ukraine to Poland, so that they can continue their business activities, and to limit it or full extent, do it from Poland as long as it's necessary. Thank you for your time. These were the 7 points that really I wanted to share with you, and I'm open for your comments, partnership suggestions. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Agata. Indeed, I mean, this, let's say, microphone is open to all those who have something to propose and concretely to offer and to share here with the audience, because I think it is definitely important that we take all together, because here the situation is so traumatic. And it is needed, help is so much needed. Especially good ideas are so much needed. So that is all very inspiring that I heard today. And I will try to share also and follow up with my members of this Confederation, European Entrepreneurs, to arrange further activities, like many here also wrote to me in the chat that they want to do, that they want to continue here. In the latest, let's say, somebody has raised hands. That is Mrs. Maya Kobalya. She's, if I understood well, herself from Georgia, or especially from Abkhazia. She's now joining as a discussant. Maybe as soon as she's there, we let her also to say a word. I see, but there's maybe first of all, before we close, Marina needs to go. So please, Marina, take the floor.
Well, actually, I was not planning to take more time for speaking, but as you opened my microphone, I would just like to to thank everyone, and again, once again, to call for talk to your members and inspire them to contribute, because together, all together with SMEs, we can double and triple the contribution that our governments are making to help Ukraine. Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraini. Yeah, then maybe I would give the word now to the floor again to Svitlana, and maybe help us to understand if we are more or less on the right path, or what is lacking.
Stefan, very much thank you, and thank you all for such encouraging messages and your willingness to support and provide help. You did a lot already, and I would really highly appreciate if you could share, since we discussed already some opportunities for co-workers, some opportunities for vacancies, but that's again in terms of the economical relocation. But we really believe that we will be able to reconstruct and rebuild our country to make it even more stronger. So I shared my email, and I would really appreciate if you could provide some concrete details of what kind of premises are you ready to provide already, and it would be indeed very helpful. So we within the EVEA will spread this information among our members. And thank you once again for having me. Thank you for what you are doing, and really Slava Ukraini. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if there's nobody else that would like to have a final word.
Just a word. Thank you for the organization of this event, Stefan. It was just well timed. Thank you very much.
The minimum. Yeah, thanks to all of you, and yeah, Slava Ukraini. Hopefully this war ends soon, as soon as possible, tomorrow, after tomorrow, not later. We all are very concerned, and we cannot stand it anymore to see all these people dying. What is indeed also important is that we maintain the EU sanctions on Russia, that they are maybe or best even will be harshened more, that we show clearly to Russia that there is a limit, that they cannot go further, and they have to go to the negotiation table. But I'm very hopeful and optimistic that we are already getting there. Of course, these sanctions have also a heavy impact on the European economy, and here we have to immediately react. So as European Entrepreneurs CEA-PME, we have launched a series of webinars that we call SME Crisis Response Webinar Series, where on March 31st, we will meet representatives of the European Commission to talk about the EU sanctions and how to handle them as SMEs, where to get information, what is in, what is out, how the things have to be solved, because there are, of course, parts of products which come from one country and to go to another. There are other countries in the middle which might, of course, make difficulties or increase the difficulties of managing these sanctions, and so on and so forth. So on 31st of March at 9 o'clock, I would hopefully see you again. Then on April 7th, we will tackle the issue of cyber attacks and how SMEs can now protect against them. We have a growing number of attacks on companies also that come up in these days. Of course, we are not sure about the origin, but most probably we can imagine where they come from, and small and medium-sized enterprises have to defend themselves here. And third point, which is very important, is also the raising energy costs. Of course, not only public transport for refugees should be free, maybe also for those who are living in the countryside or were living in the city could be free for a certain period, because the prices are really high. But on the other hand side, there are exactly things that we can do immediately, and the key word here is megawatt. That means all those kilowatt which are not used, which are not produced. Let's find out with intelligent solutions, circularity technologies, applications, how to manage our energy consumption in order to reduce our company's energy costs as soon as possible. And then also we have several other webinars. One of them is regarding the intellectual property. Russia has withdrawn from all international agreements regarding the protection of international property. We will have this webinar with EU IPO, the European Commission's Intellectual Property Office, which presents the SME Fund, a financial instrument for European SMEs to get support in protecting their intellectual property now, urgently, before it is done by somebody else, which is not the real proprietor of the design or trademark. And other two aspects will regard, let's say, new opportunities like free trade agreements that we small and medium-sized enterprises can use, as well as also the already running European Defense Fund, which now is clear. We have to prepare for the future. We have to be more able to defend ourselves as well as also help our neighbors. In this sense, again, Slava Ukraini, and thank you very much for everybody to be here, and hope to see you soon. And Svitlana, all the best for your family. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.